Well, hello there. Welcome to my Twitch channel. I'm Grant Burton, doing something a bit different. Just chatting. Me, a camera, a microphone, my green screen. Trying something different. No video game this week. Now, bear with me while I just share the social stuff because, you gotta get people in somehow. 1 minute. So, I'm trying something different for multiple reasons, which if you're not watching live, if you're watching this on my YouTube channel on Saturday, fingers crossed this is all going well and it's streaming and recording and whatnot, then there might be something else on my YouTube channel as well, which you should probably check out before watching this. That will add some explanation to things. But basically, I don't want to give too much away, but there's going to be some changes to my YouTube channel in the future. But again, you can watch the other video for that. If you are watching live, thanks very much. I'm going to be engaging with the chat. Come along, share some questions. I'll answer them if I can. And of course, let's have a lot of fun. But first topic, straight up, right away. Dun 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 dun, dun dun dun. Dun 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 dun, dun 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 dun. Of course, that's the Indiana Jones theme song, because I absolutely nailed it. You could tell that right from the word go. That iconic theme song from John Williams. Why am I singing the Indiana Jones theme song, you might say? Well, Lucasfilm Games is back, and they're back with a bang. Yes, a big bang, with Indiana Jones being a new video game being made by Bethesda, more specifically Machine Games. Now, I've done another video about this, so I'm not going to dive too much into this, but I think this is great news. I think it's super cool that we're getting another Indiana Jones game. I'm hoping it's not going to be Harrison Ford. I think this could open up things for the future and really test the ground for what is the future of Indiana Jones without Harrison Ford. Why not have them come out and say, hey, our Indiana Jones isn't voiced by Harrison Ford and it isn't looking like in Harrison Ford. I think that would be pretty cool, a good way to test things out. Because Harrison Ford, he's only got one more Indiana Jones film in him. So, what's the future of this franchise? Who knows? But yeah, Indiana Jones, a new video game from Bethesda, probably a few years out, I've got to be honest. But in relation to this, we aren't just getting an Indiana Jones game. We're also getting a new Star Wars game, because Star Wars never ends. It never stops coming out. Hell, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but even I think there's too much Star Wars. So we're getting a new Star Wars game from Ubisoft, specifically Massive. So Massive makes The Division 2. Which is, of course, a live service game all about multiplayer online shooting people in the streets of like Washington DC or wherever it is. I've never actually played the games, but this one's supposed to be an open world RPG akin to like Assassin's Creed or Phoenix. What's it called? Immortals Phoenix Rising. That's what I was trying to get at there. So that's cool. We've never really had an open world Star Wars game before. We've had Star Wars games that are kind of open world, but not to this extent, or at least the extent which I imagine this is going to be. Again, I've done a video about this, don't want to dive into it too much. You can check that out whenever that's posted. But another Star Wars game, open world RPG, sounds really cool. Sounds right up my alley. But again, this is very early on. We're probably talking a few years at least before we see anything from it. But that's the big impact and the big news coming from Lucasfilm Games. I've done a whole video about it, like I've mentioned twice already, but you gotta repeat it just to get it out there. So yeah, go check that out. It will be on my channel sometime. Maybe now, who knows, if you're watching this on YouTube on Saturday. But let's talk about Marvel a bit now, because we've gotten a few little hints and rumors about upcoming Marvel products, upcoming Marvel movies. So, Thor: Love and Thunder, the next Thor movie, of course, it's going to be a few years off, I imagine. I think they are filming it now. I say a few years off, it might actually be next year, 2022. But with the whole pandemic thing, who knows what could happen from here and now. So, the rumor right now is, well, there's actually a couple of rumors. One is that the Guardians of the Galaxy have been seen in the vicinity. Now, without getting too much into spoilers, we last alongside the Guardians of the Galaxy, so we kind of suspected there's going to be some sort of crossover between the two. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 hasn't started filming yet, because James Gunn's busy with the Suicide Squad. 4 has, so we're assuming that wherever we left 4 and the Guardians, that's going to be the starting point of this next 4 movie. I don't think the Guardians are going to have a huge role in it. But I believe 4 is also supposed to be in the next Guardians movie. So how that's going to work out, we'll just have to wait and see. But chances are the Guardians are going to be in the next 4 movie. But another thing is Matt Damon has apparently been seen in Australia where they're filming it. And apparently he's went into isolation for all safety concerns because, you know, there's a pandemic. And he might be in this movie. It's worth saying, if you didn't realise, or if you just can't remember, Matt Damon was in Thor Ragnarok. It was a very small cameo. He's playing an actor who was playing Loki in a stage play. And it was very funny, very cheesy, very small role. Will he be playing that character again? I kind of hope he is. And will it be a bigger role? I don't think so. But it'll be good just to see some recurring minor characters like this. Of course, it does rule out Matt Damon from playing, like, I don't know, a superhero in the future, because he has to play this character now. But yeah, it's a little fun little story there, and yeah, could be interesting. We got some sad news for fans of British TV this week, in the form of Peaky Blinders, one of the biggest British TV years, is coming to an end. Oh, what a shame. Well, I'm not a huge fan, so it's not an awe for me. It's actually a bit more of a hooray, because Peaky Blinders, I think, is overrated. It's a show that I've struggled to get into. I've watched all of it. There are things about it that I like, but I think at times it's trying too hard to be a music video. So Peaky Blinders coming to an end with season 6. They are saying, however, that the story's going to continue in some form. The show is very successful, it is very popular, so I have to imagine that they are going to be doing some sort of spin-off, maybe even a movie, who knows, but they're being very vague about it right now, because their focus is on season 6, which is filming right now. It's the right time to end it, I think. How long can it go on for? Because they are kind of repeating themselves every season now, where they introduce a new villain, a new bad guy that they've got to overcome. And it's getting a little silly in that how he's now a politician as well as a gangster, and very similar to like Boardwalk Empire, but this is the British equivalent to it and so on. Yeah. There are things I like about Peaky Blinders, but I'm glad it's coming to an end. Mainly so I can stop watching it. Now, the final topic I'm going to talk about is actually a review, because I've been going back and watching some movies recently, as I do. Murder on the Orient Express. Neil_1992 says, "Hey Grant, how's it going? What's the topic for today?" Well, I've already talked about a bunch of them, so you've missed a few. And I'm actually on to the last one right now. Murder on the Orient Express, which is a 1974 movie based on the Agatha Christie book of the same name. So, I watched this film just out of sheer curiosity, because I've heard things about it. It's got a huge all-star cast. Albert Finney is playing Hercule Poirot, the Belgian detective, and it's all about Hercule Poirot, the world's greatest detective, boarding a train, heading home to England. Or at least he's heading to London. I don't know much about Poirot or Agatha Christie works or anything like that, so I'm not familiar with the character too much, but he's heading to London, and things are going a bit awry, because there's a bunch of characters on this train, and guess what? Someone dies. And how convenient is it to have the world's greatest detective on board to solve the case, as well as a doctor who looks like the crazy mad scientist from like Frankenstein or something, who's also there for some reason. So the mystery from the get-go is interesting. It is a little slow to build up, because it is trying to introduce all these characters and establish what's going on and give them some sort of backstory. But the most we ever get out of the characters in this film are like interrogation scenes, essentially. And then in classical fashion, the final scene in this movie is basically Hercule Poirot sitting around a big room talking all about what's gone on, what's the mystery, what's the solution. And it's very classic. It's like a half an hour scene where he's just talking, explaining what the hell is happening. So Neil's saying, "Is it worth watching if I've never seen it before?" I would say if you like murder mysteries, if you like Agatha Christie style mysteries, go for it. However, there is a modern version remake of it starring Kenneth Branagh, which is quite different. It's much more, let's say, much more exciting is the best way to describe it. So I feel like the 1974 version is very classical in its way that it's told. It's a bit slow paced. It is very traditional. It's not got like action scenes or anything like that. And whereas the Kenneth Branagh version, the modern version, is much more exciting. There's a bit more glitz and glamour, a bit more Shazam in it, let's say. So that might be the version that's more appealing to modern audiences. But the 1974 version is enjoyable. Of course, they have the same story as well, which is probably why I didn't like the 1974 version quite as much, because I knew how it ended. I knew where it was going. But yeah, it's not a bad film. I thought it was okay. You've got the likes of Sean Connery showing up there. There is an all-star cast. You've got Anthony Perkins in there from Psycho. You've got Albert Finney playing Poirot. Now, I'm not familiar with Agatha Christie's work. I'm not that familiar with Poirot himself. So I was really a little surprised by Poirot because he's not a nice guy. It turns out he's a bit of a creep. He walks around with like a hunch and he's got double necks like that, and obviously he's Belgian, so he's putting on this accent. And yeah, he's not a nice guy. In fact, for the first half of the film, he's a bit of an arsehole. And it makes it interesting because he's the detective who's got to solve this, and we are rooting for him. We are rooting for him to find out what's going on. But it's really hard because I don't like him. It's bizarre. I mean, to say that he's a bit of an arsehole and to say that I don't like him is a bit harsh, because I do like him. I think he's a very interesting character. But he's not your typical protagonist. He's not your typical detective. And I would also say that there are a lot of characters in this film, to the point where halfway through the film, this train gets stuck in the middle of nowhere. It's not really a spoiler, because this is where the mystery really starts to unfold, where things start to gather. But all of a sudden, you start seeing characters popping up who've apparently been on this train all along. So there's one who's apparently like a taxi driver or a chauffeur or something. And where the hell did he come from? How long was he on this train? Why haven't we seen him before? Why are we suddenly being introduced to him? And why is it that Hercule Poirot knew about him way before we did? It's a bit odd how many characters show up out of nowhere. And all of these characters, because there are so many of them, there's only so much time the film can dedicate to each of them, which is why, again, the most we ever see of them really is an interrogation scene. There are a couple, like Sean Connery's, for example, where we do see a couple of little scenes beforehand. But also it's worth saying that the mystery, the resolution to the mystery in particular, is a little silly, I think. It's a little far-fetched, a little coincidental how everything's came together the way it is. It would have took a hell of a lot of planning. And this is set in, like, I think 1940. So to set it in this time period and to try and explain how all this has gone on is a big ask. And I don't think it quite succeeds. The resolution I was not happy with, let's say. If I had to pick one, the 1974 version or the modern version, I can't remember the year, but I think it was 2018. Then I would probably recommend the modern version. But again, as we're saying, I saw the modern version first, so to me that's the original. Neil asks, do you think it would have worked better as a small series so that they could have built on character progression, etc.? I don't think there's enough story to do that. I think a small series, a limited series, would have dragged on, depending on how many episodes you have. Because again, it is just one train journey. Yes, it's taken over multiple places, but it is also worth saying that there is a Hercule Poirot TV series starring David Suchet. So each episode of that is a different mystery. So there is one that's the Murder on the Orient Express. And I've never seen that, so I can't comment on that. But I think in that one, you would definitely have more information about Hercule Poirot. And maybe that would allow them to just dive into the other characters of the show at that point, because you already know who Poirot is. But yeah, I don't think this one story would work as a series, because I think it would feel stretched out. The film, by the way, is only 2 hours long. So it's slow. It's methodical, it's very traditional. I did like it, but I was disappointed by certain aspects of it. And yeah, that's kind of all I'm going to say about Murder on the Orient Express. And that's all the topics I've got this week, because I am calling it short because I've got some things going on. If you're watching this on YouTube on Saturday, there is going to be some additional content on my channel, a big announcement, let's say. So check that out. It's in regards to my Twitch channel and in regards to my YouTube channel. If you are watching this live, like Neil is, thanks very much for getting involved in the chat. I plan on doing more casual streams like this in the future. So if you're watching this on YouTube, leave your comments and questions down below. Any comments and questions, it can be film, TV, video games, it can be about me, it can be like what's my favourite fruit or what's my favourite music, whatever it is. Leave all the comments and questions you have for me down below and I will address them in the next version of this, if you want more of this. And of course, go over to Twitter and Instagram, follow me at _GrantBurton to get all of my thoughts and opinions up to date as I get them. Watch me live on Twitch every Tuesday and or Wednesday at twitch.tv/the_GrantBurton. And yeah, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Again, this is going live on YouTube on Saturday. Watch another video, a very important video that's going up alongside it. And yeah, subscribe. The more subscribers I get, the more content like this I can make. And I believe that's everything. Thanks for watching, including Neil for getting in on the comments and chat. This was intended to be a shorter stream, a much more to the point, much more focused, much more casual stream. Hopefully that's come across, hopefully you've liked it. No video game today, trying something different. Until next time though, thanks for watching.